What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into another Brent Pry press conference breakdown as Virginia Tech looks to bounce back from a surprising weekend defeat at Vanderbilt when it plays host to Marshall on Saturday in Lane Stadium. Now, after a loss last week that kind of sent some shockwaves, I think is a fair thing to say, through the fan base, what's kind of the response from Brent Pry and crew, and what was kind of the tenor in the Sunday practice? Let's see.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's addressing what we felt like was not where it needed to be. You know, from a coaching standpoint, owning that with our team. From a player standpoint, owning it with one another. You have to kind of get to a place where you can be, make the corrections, make the adjustments when you get out there on the field. I think the guys did a great job with that. We're not out there banging heads on Sundays. It was still a physical game. We got guys with banged up with some nicks and bruises, but we make the corrections. We get in a good headspace, and then we move on to the next opponent and dive into those guys.
All right, so speaking of that Saturday game, I think one of the big things that the fan base and the guys on the podcast here at Tech Sideline were talking about was, did this team drink a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid? And I think that's a fair thing to say. What was Brent Pry's response to that? Here we go.
Yeah, we've certainly talked about that the last couple days. As a reminder for the team, I think you never know for sure, but we talked about it. Can't be there. You can't ever feel like you're better than you are. You hear me say all the time, humble and hungry. They seemed in a good headspace in that locker room. I think the way the game started kind of deflated things. I think there was respect for Vanderbilt. I know as a coaching staff we did, and we certainly preached that with our team. But, it's my job as a head coach to make sure that we come out, guns blazing and playing really tough and really hard. And I don't think we did that. It wasn't long into the game where I felt like we lost that, and it took too long to get it back.
Now, what are some other overarching issues in the 34-27 loss this past weekend? I think another big thing is the offensive line. How would Brent Pry rate their performance? Let's see.
Yeah, I think in the run game, we need to be more physical. They were shooting gaps and doing some things that we hadn't expected, and it slowed us down a little bit. I think we got to come off the ball, be more aggressive, be more physical. At moments, we looked pretty good in the run game. We were hat on hat. We were moving people. And then in the throw game, I think we got beat a little bit too often. They had a little bit too much success rushing the quarterback than we'd like to see. We got to be better there.
And then what about the defensive line? Here's Pry.
I thought that unit played well, to be quite honest. They weren't enough of a factor in the game. It was more of a perimeter issue defensively, but I thought they played well, and the rotation was good. It was healthy. I thought Kamari came in, who's really been penciled in as the fifth D tackle right now, and made some good plays and earned more playing time. But I thought all those guys played pretty well.
Now, more so turning the page for what's to come. It does appear like Jalen Stroman will indeed miss a couple weeks with an undisclosed injury. What does that mean for the safety room? Here's Pry.
Yeah, so obviously it's increased reps for Jalen Jones, for Mose, and for Quentin Reddish. They'll be, his snap count's going to jump way up. And he'll play both the field and the boundary. And then we've continued to train Mansour there because of situations like this. So he got snaps in camp. He was in some meetings. He's been involved there. We'll increase that. And then we've also got a situation with Braylon Johnson, with Devin Alves, where we're giving those guys some opportunities, possibly even Caleb Spencer. To play a little bit in that boundary. So we've got to find that fourth guy right now.
Now, sticking with the defensive side of the ball, there continues to be some musical chairs, if you will, with the linebacking core. So let's take a look right now. Jaden Keller now moves back to the mic after one game away. He's the backup there behind Sam Brumfield. Kelly Lawson is now the starter at will, with Caleb Woodson right behind him. And that means Caleb Spencer is now the backup at star. Jaden McDonald is also not listed. Here's Pry on moving those guys around.
Yeah, we thought Kelly played harder, faster, what we need. Made some plays in the game. By any means didn't play perfect or even great, but made some plays that opened our eyes. And he's done that throughout camp. That's been a close battle with him and J.K. The other piece is, just a little more onus on J.K. at Mike to be a good complement to Sam. And then the last piece is Caleb Woodson has done a nice job. He did some good things in the game and deserves more snaps.
So preparing for Marshall is tricky. The Thundering Herd last week in a victory over Stony Brook, they played 3 quarterbacks and they essentially run a 2-quarterback system. Now, namely, those 2 guys are North Texas transfer Stone Earl, who started the game last week, and then Tulsa transfer Braylon Braxton. Here's Pry on the challenges of preparing for both.
Yeah, I think we broke down both quarterbacks. We looked at their film. They both played a couple of games at their prior institution. We looked at those. We looked at what they did in this game against Stony Brook. It was a little bit different with each guy, but there was a lot of similarities as well. So I think you got to study them independently, and that's what we've done. They're both pretty talented guys.
Just one more final thing to wrap it up, and let's kind of take our attention to tight end Nick Gallo. Brent Pry said that he is, quote, unlikely, but questionable. So I don't think we will be seeing him this weekend. As always, appreciate you tuning in. Tech Sideline has you covered all week long as the Hokies face off against Marshall this weekend. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk to you soon.